Okay, welcome to the VFX stream. Helps if I actually hit record when I start doing this. Oh boy, I am brilliant at this, and I am fixing my volume. And there we go. If there's anyone in the chat, let me know if the music is too loud, because I'm doing this so I can replace that video where the music was too damn loud. So I'm also going to shout it out once I double check I've got everything. Oh, that's something I could add. That is something I could add. I thought of something else to add into the shot. Okay, so this isn't actually a model from the show, but what it is the International Space Station, something that's actually real. So the last video people were like, we don't have anything that we sort of, it's the proper thing that we can size compare to. Well, now you do, because that's the International Space Station right there. It should be scaled to the right size, hopefully, because the model itself is definitely not the right size. Okay, let's drop back to full of that. I think it's this button here. It is not that button there. I'll have to just cycle through. I can never remember what button it is that takes it straight to full screen. I'm going to put it back on wireframe, just because VPR does freak it out a little. Just a tiny little bit. Okay, let's flick it around, all the way around. There we go, put you back on VPR. Okay. Let's get this show on the road. So hopefully I'm not being drowned out by the music. I'm going to dial it down even more just to be safe. A little bit more just to be safe. Okay, so right here we have a metric crap ton of the models from Stargate, as you can see. Whoops, I forgot to get into your position, please. There we go. What are you? Oh, you're the spin rotation. I did on Atlantis. No, just did a random spin on Atlantis. Okay, so here we have a longer shot looking out over the models that I've got. Now, as you can see, I don't have all of the models in the universe, but I do have quite a few. Of special note is the Aurora class ship here, and the Prometheus here. Now, both of these are edited models. The original versions, the people I got these off, were incomplete. The Prometheus models from the episode Ethan, and it was the part where it was blown up, so they had to basically reverse engineer the model back into being a solid piece, as the version that they had was pre-broken. The Aurora was also the Aurora model from the original episode, so the front end was all broken and all this down here was damaged, and the model itself was never actually finished. I've seen that model. Oh boy, the fact that that made it onto the screen genuinely terrifies me. That said, when this Atlantis model first made it onto the screen, it was missing a lot of textures from this sort of area. I think it was this pier that they landed on, might have been that pier. But yeah, one of the piers that they land on that's missing a heap of textures in around here, which it does have now, so they finished it. Yay. After the visual effects shot was put in the episode. Yay. I find that hilarious. One of my favourite pieces of trivia. So, in this shot, we have an Atlantis city ship. We have the Aurora class, we have a Wraith cruiser, we have Prometheus, we've got an Alkesh, we've got a Daedalus, we've got the International Space Station, and then sitting next to Daedalus, we have the F-302, the Death Glider. Actually, let's do a slightly longer shot so I can see the other things. Okay, so we've got the Teltac, the cargo ship, the F-302, Death Glider, the 2 puddle jumpers, little bitty Joe. Now, Joe is not a model from the show, but he is a fighter pilot scaled to the same height as Joe Flanagan, just as a scale reference. And then we have a Wraith Dart. Also included is the International Space Station, just to give you an idea of how big that is compared to, say, the Daedalus, which is hilarious. It's really silly, but you know, that's a thing. So it gives you sort of an idea of the different sizes of the different ships. So let's start by grabbing the... So now we're going to flip over to using these views. I'm going to grab me a null, which is going to be my ruler. I'm going to do what I did last time, which is lock the null off, zoom in, do ourselves a little bit of measuring of the models. Now, I can change, okay, because I'm doing the Wraith Dart, I'll just zoom in onto the closest one, grab that null, okay. Okay, so here's the Wraith Dart. So I'm only gonna measure lengths. I'm not gonna measure widths or anything like that. Puddle jumper looks wrong. Where are you? Yeah, no, both right. Huh, it's weird that it's that much longer. Yeah, whatever. Anywho, let's measure the crap out of the dart, shall we? Okay, so the back of the dart is at... So we're looking at blue. Blue is here, so it's -4. So let's just whack up a calculator on screen. On the screen that I'm using would be good. I'll put you on for this corner. So it goes from -4 to... -4 on the T to... Call that 6. So call that 10 meters long, because it's a little bit behind -4 and a little bit behind that. So the Wraith Dart, 10 meters long. From there, I'm sure you can work out the width. It's basically 11 on that side. Call it 7 on that side. It's about 4 meters wide. I'm not going to do height because that's a lot of zooming. It's already going to be a pain in the ass enough as it is. Okay, so this is the Season 1 Hero Puddle Jumper, which is this green one here. Tell because Joe is sitting next to it. Here's Joe. Hey, Joe. Here's my little mini pilot. There he is. Okay, so here is Joe sitting next to the Wraith Dart. Here he is sitting, I don't know if can I go? Is he visible inside? I don't know if he is. Oh, he is. Just hiding under the console. Zoom me. Zoom! Zoom! Okay. Let's lift Joe up a little bit. So he's actually sitting at about the pilot's height. Now let's put him on the pilot side. Okay, so Joe is currently in the pilot seat for the puddle jumper. So as you can see, he's inside the console now. Back up a little bit. Back it up. So as you can see, that is about the right size. Let me grab the camera. Boop. Properties. Change that to zoom. Let's just dial it up to 6. That'll make it angry. Give it a second. It's got to think about it. Come on, hurry up. Okay. As you can see, Joe looks right about at home inside the puddle jumper at that size. Just pan down a little bit. Boop. Ugh, just freaking it out. So there's Joe chilling at his console, doing what Joe does, flying the puddle jumper. So now that you can sort of see that that's about the right size, let's just put the camera back to where it was. Okay, the camera's back to where it was. The zoom is not. Let's do that. That'll put the zoom back to where it was, approximately. Let's grab my null. Okay, so the back of the puddle jumper is at -4.3. The front of the puddle jumper is at +4.3, so that makes it sort of, what's that, 8.6 meters long? Now, this puddle jumper is the brown one in the shot. It was the one that was used for, if I remember correctly, it first debuted in season 4 during the asteroid fight. But it might have turned up earlier than that. I'm honestly not 100% sure. But that's where I first sort of remember seeing it specifically. And you can see it in a lot of the longer shots, and it's not normally used for close-ups. They normally use this green hero model for the close-ups. But anyway, starting at the nose, we're at 4.3. Going to the back, we're at -5.6. So what's that? That's about 9. 4.3? 4.4? 4.4 plus 5.6 is 10 meters. So it's a meter and a bit longer on this one than that one. Now, a lot of people have been like, how do we justify 2 different visual effects assets? And to me, given that that model turned up later in the series, my excuse is fairly straightforward. It's an older model puddle jumper that they liberated from the city ship in the tower. We see older, more banged up puddle jumpers in the jumper bay there. Now, a little behind the scenes thing for you. One of the notes to do with that city ship is actually called it Troy. Now, that's not official, that's not canon, but just to sort of tell them apart, I like to think of it as Troy. So it's just a cool little tidbit. And almost nobody knows it, which is even cooler. So, shh, don't tell anyone it's a secret, okay? So anyway, the way I view it is the brown puddle jumper was in the jumper bay of the tower. Hey Jordan, how's it going? If you've got any questions, feel free to shout them out. I am currently talking about the 2 different puddle jumpers. So the second puddle jumper being older looking, being more busted looking because of how scuffed it is. I like to think of it as a puddle jumper that they recovered from the tower episode. So it took them a while to sort of go back there, negotiate access to them, get up in there, fix them up, and then fly them back to Atlantis, which is why we see a couple of different versions of the puddle jumper. Now, to explain the size discrepancy, depending on when the tower was abandoned, you could say that this is an older version. So this might be, say, the version 42 puddle jumper, and this might be the version 32 puddle jumper. And that's sort of a way of sort of retconning, so to speak, and justifying the different visual effects assets, because then you can see, because there's at least one other puddle jumper model that I know of. I don't have it, but I know it's out there somewhere. And it's kind of halfway between these two, and I like to think of it as if this is the version 42. Now, I chose 42 just because there's the number 42. It's awesome. And call this one the version 20, then the one in the middle will be the version 30. Just, you know. So let's move on to the Death Glider. Let me grab my camera. Pan across for me, buddy. Oop, too far. Bad camera. Back again, please. A little bit further. There we go. Okay, now, where is my Joe pilot? There he is. He's in the puddle jumper. Let's just phase you over to the Death Glider. Okay, so I'm going to put Joe in the Death Glider. It's really, really hard to pick where the seats are in that thing through this just mess of other bloody models. But I'm pretty sure he's currently sitting inside a seat as opposed to in a seat. Okay, so his head's poking out the top. I know that. To zoom in from this one. Stand a chance of being able to fix him up. Sit down in this chair, buddy. There we go. Okay, so he is now sitting in the chair, as you can see here. And he's quite snug. Actually, I think he's a little bit low. Let me just pick him up a little bit. There we go. It's a very snug little model. Now, this model was made for Children of the Gods, so... Can the larger of the two jumpers be scaled down to match the size of the smaller one? No. The larger of the two puddle jumpers can't be scaled down because width-wise they're about the same. It's just length that they're different. So let me grab my camera and I'll bring it across. Bring it in for a bit of a closer look for you. So I'll grab the second puddle jumper model. That one. Zoom in. So, as you see, width-wise, they're about the same. It's just length-wise, they're different. So, basically, the way that... That's why I'm like, yeah, they're just different versions. Like, that's why I call the 42 the newest one, because it's shorter. It's a bit shorter. The engines, as you can see, are a different design. They're stouter. And this one's got a different design drone launcher. So see how it's got the relatively small drone launcher, whereas on this one, which... Can I pop the drones on this one? I don't think I can. I think that's the other model that I don't have. No, that's all the consoles. Yeah, I don't know what any of that is. That's the window. The right wing. It's more of the hull. Yeah, I don't think I can... Yeah, no, there's no independent drone launcher. So anyway, I hope that clarifies sort of why I was sort of saying that they're a different sort of thing. Okay, back to the Death Glider. Like I said, if you've got any questions, feel free to shout them out and I'll more than happily explain. So I'll grab my measuring stick null, which is over here. Come here, measuring stick. Bring you over to the Death Glider. Okay, so we'll park it at the back, just like we did before. So it's -42, park it at the front, and that makes it +42, so that's 8.4 meters long. And she's pretty wide. She's -13 on that side. What are you? 27, so about 14 meters wide approximately on that. So that gives you an idea of how big sort of the Death Glider is, because we only ever see the Death Glider come up against the puddle jumper once, and that's at the end of Season 8. And that was against this model. And I don't think that was this model, because this model's from Children of the Gods. I think that was the older visual effects model that predates this one. Because they updated a heap of the visual assets for Children of the Gods. It's where this Death Glider comes from, it's where this cargo ship comes from. Okay, let's grab the camera and move on over to the good, trusty F302. Now, one thing you'll notice about the F302 is it is freaking huge compared to the Death Glider. Now, there's quite a few reasons for that. If you've ever seen the sets, you know that the sets for the F302 are quite large. But Joe likes being in this, so I'm just going to swing him across. Whoop, too far. Back a little bit. Up a bit. Up a bit. There he is. Oh, he's in the back seat, not the front. Whoops. Oh well. Good enough. You can see Joe hiding in the back seat there. So the F302 model, as far as I'm aware, goes all the way back to the original showing of it on screen, but I could be wrong, because it's definitely the one they use in Stargate Atlantis and the Lost City, and I'm pretty sure it's the one that they used before that as well, but again, I could be wrong. It's hard to keep track of all these things. I don't even think MGM keeps track of all these things, to be honest. Now, the F302 I measured in the last video, but I'll measure it again because that last video audio is absolute crap. So if I go all the way to the back of the booster, we're at -9. If I go to the front of its guns, which is sort of the furthest tip forward, we're at 5.2, so it's about 14-ish meters long, I want to say. Was it? yeah, it's -9 and +5 and a bit, 5 and change. So, yeah, that would make it 14 meters long, which is comparable to the Death Glider in length, but God, the wings on this thing are just monstrous. So, if you look at the Death Glider's width, it's from call that -30, do a tiny little bit of rounding, to 56. So it's like 16 meters wide. So that's just hilariously wide. It's wider than some fighter jets are long, which is just ridiculous. So let's move on to the cargo ship. Now the cargo ship's a funny model because I don't think the set fits inside it. I've been trying to get my hands on a copy of the set blueprint for the cargo ship for Yonks, but I haven't been able to. But this is the cargo ship model used in Children of the Gods. It seems hilariously small. That's just to me. I suspect it's going to be about twice this size. Yep, F302 is 14 meters long and 16 meters wide. Sounds about right. So let's grab my measuring stick. Measuring stick, where are you? There you are. Okay, so cargo ship is the nose of it is at 4.2. The back of it's at -10. So it's about 14 meters long as well. It's just a lot thinner. So it goes from about -62 to about -71, so about 9 meters wide, which it might be. I'm not sure. Like I said, I need to get the set for this one and match it up. But that is the size that was used in the visual effects shot that it was in Children of the Gods Final Cut. Okay, so now we have to zoom out a little bit because we're moving on to the slightly larger ships. So let's move over to... Oops, that's not the camera. Oh, camera dear. Hello, Daedalus. Okay. We're now... Whoop. A little bit drunkenly, but getting there. Okay, we're now looking at the Alkesh. Okay, measuring stick, where are you? There you are. Okay, so... let's see. Okay, so the bow on this thing is at 8-ish. The back of its engine pods are about, call it 62, because we'll sort of add the change from the frontal to the back end. So it's 8 plus... So it's, yeah, -62 and 8, so about 70 meters long. Is that right? Okay, where are you? I haven't scaled you up, have I? No, I haven't. Okay, yeah. No, the Teltac doesn't have the port for the ring platform on the bottom. Let me grab the camera. Zip back over to it really quickly. Flip the camera up. Lift the camera back up so I'm actually looking at the right spot. So that's the underside, so there is no port for the ring platform. But while I'm here, I may as well show you the underside of the other things. So underside of the F302. Actually notice the underside of the Death Glider and the underside, like this piece here and this section here are very similar on the Teltac. The underside of the Puddle Jumpers. Oh, the underside of the Wraith Dart. Fun fact about the Wraith Dart is it actually has turret points. Let's see if I can find one. It's going to be a bit of a mission unless I zoom this in. Because the Wraith Dart actually has two hilarious little nubby turrets. Ooh, camera. Can you move, please? Lightwave's having a moment. I'm just going to swap this back to wireframe for a second because it's freaking out. Every now and again, Lightwave has a moment. Oh, I'm also moving the light instead of the camera. Okay, bring the camera up nice and close. Fair idea approximately where it is. So. Okay, flip back to VPR. Come on. There it goes. Okay. Nope. That's not where the little nubby turret is. Where's the little nubby turret? Oh, it's further forwards. There it is. So if you look really closely, I'll try and get a closer shot of it. There's a little nubby turret. And there's actually one on top as well. So... yeah, I know what I was pointing at as the ring platform cover. The problem is it changes depending on who does the visual effects. So it's another one of those sort of non-consistency moments. So let me just... so yeah, so that is where the ring platforms come out, is this area here. But yeah, that area is obviously not ring platform sized. And there is no sort of dedicated... let me just get a tighter shot. So this is where the ring platform comes out. This is the ring platform cover. But when they do that, that's its own thing. It's like when they show the turret on the... let me go over to the Alkesh. Oop, bit close. Tad close. Drop the camera. It's like when they show the episode with Tanith in it, where we see this turret moving on the Alkesh. That's a totally different turret. Hey, why so fallacious? Welcome to the stream. Yeah, these are the visual effects models scaled to the size that the visual effects models were used at. Some have qualifiers, but yeah, the Alkesh model is 70 meters long. I was just about to measure its width, but then we got distracted because squirrel. Very good at getting distracted. Whoa. Camera, please don't. Alright, so there's the Alkesh model again. Let me grab my measuring stick. Measuring stick, there he is. So the front of the model is at 8.3. The back of the model is approximately 61, 62-ish. So 70 is its length. Now we'll take a look at the width. So let me just try and line that up. Okay. So it goes from approximately negative 278 to approximately negative 330. So what's that about? So get you to, that's what, 22. So it's around 50, 55 meters wide, approximately. Which is, that's a comfortable house. If I honestly had to choose a Stargate ship to live in, I would honestly want to live in an Alkesh. It's got more than enough space. We know it's got more than enough space to carry troops. We know it's got a ring room. It can hold its own, relatively speaking, for a ship that size. So, yeah. Now, next on the list is, if we continue up the scale, is Prometheus. Now, again, I'm going to repeat the qualifier that I said at the start. The Prometheus model is the model from the episode Ethan. And in that episode, the visual effects asset was totally destroyed. And no original copy was backed up because they hate us, basically. So a group of fans took the version of the model that was saved, which was a broken up version, and basically rebuilt it. So while this won't be accurate, it will be within sort of a margin of error, size-wise. So, yeah, let me just jump back to the long shot real quick. So we're now looking at Prometheus. So we've done the fighters. You can see, oh, did I do a shot showing the International Space Station, sort of? Okay, let me just pull this back across. Yeah, I just wanted to show you the International Space Station compared to the size of the smaller ships, the puddle jumpers, the Dart, and the the allocation there. So that is the official NASA Gov 3D model for the International Space Station. Circa the same time Stargate was on the air. Actually, I think it's a little bit later. So I think it's the 2011 version. They've had a couple of other things added to it since then. Point being that it's scaled to about the right size within about a 1 to 2% margin of error. So that's the only thing in this image that I've changed the scale on. That's because the official size of the International Space Station model is silly. Very, very silly. So it's either hundreds of kilometers long or it's that big. So yeah. And there we have, and so yeah. Now let's move back to Prometheus. Hello, Prometheus. How are we going? Now, I'll do what I did in the last video of these that I did, which was bring the F302 over and compare it to the hangar bays. So let me just pull this shot over here, drop it down so I can have both hangar bays in the shot. Okay, F302, where are you? I know there's the stuff here somewhere. Nope, that's Atlantis. There it is, found it. It's incredibly subtly named F302 core. Do you think that would stand out? So anyway, so there's the F302 compared to the pods. So I'll just zoom in. Whoa, F302, don't do that. Bad F302, don't scale. So let's drop it down. Make sure it's in line with the pod from the front. Okay, so it's about the middle of the pod. So as you can see, it's kind of hard to tell, but the F302 would fit in that area. So my understanding, the way Prometheus is this internal area in here is where they store the fighters, and then they're moved out. Ooh, missed the pod. They moved out to the pod, and then they're launched out the end. Now, originally the Prometheus model was designed so that the F302s would launch out of up here, which what the hell is that noise? Yeah, I cannot open the hangar bay doors on that model. They're fixed closed. There's nothing to see in any of the hangars anyway, because all of the hangar bay sets were internal, independent, their own thing. So let me just pop you down. So this is the original hangar bay. So if I grab the 302 model again, where are you? There you are. You can see she just sneaks in. And by just sneaks in, I mean like you're puddle jumping the hell out of that needle to get it in there. But this is originally where it was meant to launch. Again, we never see it launch until the episode Ethan, and when it does launch in Ethan, it launches from the side pods, which up until that point was shown to be the FTL pods. Now, the fun part about this is literally in front of the hangar entrance, the old hangar entrance, is all the missile tubes. Now this is literally ripped straight off the Daedalus model. All these tubes are exactly the same as the Daedalus model. I'll show you them later. Some of them are covered in greeblies. I don't know why. They just are. And on the section where you'd expect there to be missiles, there isn't any. So honestly, I would expect the missiles to be down here. There is none. So, you know, seems legit-ish. But again, that's how the model was set up in the episode. You can watch the episode and you look close enough, you can see all these details. So anyway, if you ever wondered what Prometheus looked like next to a Wraith Cruiser, bring that down that way a little bit, bring it across this way more. That's Prometheus next to a Wraith Cruiser. So just in the off chance you guys were curious. So let's grab my measuring stick. Come here, measuring stick. Okay, so the bow of Prometheus. Now again, this is margin of error-y, so sort of expect the actual size to be within about 10% of this. Close, but you know what I mean. So it's the front of it's at 102 meters. The back of it is at negative 620. So add those two together. So, oh, sorry, subtract them off. So it's about 520 meters long, give or take. Like I said, it's give or take. And if you want to post the cannon sizes in the chat, I'll more than happily rescale any of these models to match those sizes, because you will seriously have never laughed as hard as you have in your life until you see the Daedalus model scaled to the official cannon size. And I'll do that at the end, because it is my favorite thing to do. It is fucking hilarious. So anyway, this is the widest point of the Prometheus at negative 705. This is the other side at, call that negative 450. So it's 50 to get at 500, so it's about 250 meters wide. Yeah, Fat Daedalus is best Daedalus, just saying. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Oh, yeah, anyway. Moving on, in next size up is not the Daedalus, it's actually the Wraith Cruiser. So we'll move that over to there, we'll grab the camera. Over. Spin him around. Point him down some more. Okay. Pull the camera up just a little bit. Might do a bit more of a spin, just because it's one of those ships that's a really weird angle. So it's a bit of a pain to line up properly. There we go. Now what I'll grab is... Where are you? Okay. Dart over. Okay, so here we have the Dart. Tiny little speck down here. And the Wraith Cruiser. Yep, Prometheus is 520 meters long and 250 meters wide. Measuring the height, it's too hard when there's this many models to sort of get a good idea of what you're measuring. It's the only reason I'm not doing it. I could do it this way because it's a lot easier than I can sort of doing it the height. So anyway, Wraith Cruiser. I will grab my measuring stick. We'll take a closer look at the Wraith Cruiser in a moment. First, we'll do the measure. Lock it in around the bow. Okay, front of the little nose whiskers. Negative 44. Back of the pods at the back here is 660. 660, so what's that? 620, give or take, for the length of the Wraith Cruiser. I like rounding it to around the 10 meter mark where possible, or 5 meter mark realistically if I can. Just because it makes it just a lot easier to scale it if you're making fan models. Okay, so it's 44 to, so it's 620 long, yeah. On the width, let's go to the width. So again, because of its little whiskers that you can sort of see poking out here, negative 773, negative 1.19 kilometers, so negative 11,000. Wow, that's a whole thing, isn't it? I'm actually going to have to math this one, because where is my calculator? There it is. So it's about 420 meters wide, give or take. But again, the chunk of that is just the whiskers. So now let's grab the camera and take a bit of a closer look at it, the Wraith Cruiser. Now this Wraith Cruiser model was never in a million years designed to be viewed close. As you could tell by sort of like, admittedly viewing it through VPR isn't the same as rendering it. It's just, this kind of gives you an idea of what it's going to look like. But you can see like little greebly things like these, like the antenna poking up out of it. Let's spin the camera, drop it lower, too low. So you can see the antenna poking up out of it. Now, fun little thing, this does actually have, whoop, that's not the right one. Spin. So, we'll take a look at the underside. Fun little thing, this actually does have, well, it doesn't have a hangar entry per se. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. You can see the engines. It does actually have a location for the turrets. It just doesn't have turrets. I'll show you the approximate location that the weapons tend to fire from. So that is the hangar entrance. And if I grab the Wraith Dart, that one, bring him down, cross. I think I've got to make it go lower. Oh, there he is. Okay, so as you can tell by the shadow, he's fairly close. So that's your hangar. If I spin that to 90, so that's your hangar where the Wraith Darts come out of. So thanks for keeping track of all this, Jordan. It's definitely going to make things a lot easier to do a recap at the end than trying to remember it off the top of my head like I did in the last one. The last video was rough. Alright, so anyway, that's your Wraith coming out of where the dart coming out of the hangar. Now, the actual turrets are further forwards. This way. It's actually... oh, pardon me. These nodes here. So there's one here and there's one there. They're exactly the same. But that's where you always see the weapons fire coming from. Is these two greebles here. And if you see a Wraith Cruiser firing, it's from there. Or sometimes there's a couple of other points along the side that it fires from, but those two are the two main points you see them firing from. Oh, you missed the width of the cruiser. It was, if I remember correctly, about 420. Let's grab my measuring stick. Measuring stick. So it's 1.19 and 1.19 and 7.7. Yeah, it's about 420. 420 is the width of the cruiser, give or take. So that's the Wraith Cruiser. Let's grab the camera. We'll move along to the next biggest ship, which is all the way back over here. You know it, you love it, and I actually have two different versions of it. I've only got one in the scene because if I put more than one in, it freaks the hell out. There's no major differences on them either. Screw it, why not? What's the worst that can happen? It crashes the program? ... Uh-oh. I'll grab that. Okay. They're currently inside each other. You wondered how F302s were born? This is how F302s were born. Sorry, this is a horrible, horrible joke. Now, these two models are... Where's my camera? Come here, camera. Let's just do... Okay, these two models are almost identical. The actual... Here's the wires. Let me just drag you up so they just stack. Of course. And guess what just crashed? Told you it gets angry when I had both of them. Okay. Yeah, look at that. My favorite render is my desktop background. Okay, lightweight. Stop being that guy. It's going to take a hot minute to load because it's going to load everything back in. I'm not even sure if it'll have everything at the shot. It may not have... Or the Aurora... I think Aurora was the last thing I added. But we've covered most of the stuff anyway. Worst case scenario, the only things I've got left to cover is Atlantis, the 2 Daedaluses, and Aurora, off the top of my head. Now, you have seen me using other models just while this is loading. All the other models off the top of my head are fan-made models. So, the Gould Mothership is fan-made. It's scaled to concept art size. The Wraith Hive model I've got is fan-made. It's scaled to concept art sizes. Destiny's a fan model. The Anil's a fan model. Both of those are scaled to concept art sizes. Actually, there's some really cool concept art stashed away on here. And if you're lucky, at the end of this, I might show you some. Come on. Okay, there we go. And we're back. Ooh, textured solid. That'll be angry. BPR, please. Like I said, I'm not actually sure what's in this shot. Might have to re-import. I know I've got to re-import the other Daedalus. Oh, it all seems to be in here. Yeah. Oh, it's missing Prometheus. And the International Space Station. Oh, well. Win some, you lose some. Don't need Prometheus anymore anyway. You know, I might put Prometheus back in, and then we can have a fun little gag at the end of the stream where we go through and we look at the DVD sizes for the ships. And yeah, just have a laugh at how absolutely silly they look. We can do Prometheus, we can do Daedalus, we can, yeah. It'll be a whole thing, it'll be hilarious. And we can use our little fighter pilot Joe to show how silly they are compared to an actual person. Okay, so next up is to load. As we've seen, we want Daedalus first appearance. And it crashed again. Okay, well, I know what I'm doing that's making it crash, so I could just... That's Photoshop. Great clicking, brain. Great clicking. What I need is like a click away in my OBS for technical issues. You're experiencing technical issues. Okay. While it's loading, I'll show you something really cool if I can find it. That's not what I was looking for. Where is... Oops, angry. I know it's one of these. Did you know that that was an alternate design for Anubis' mothership, with that being its super weapon? It's pretty crazy to look at, isn't it? It's still loading. Let me find you another picture to look at. Oh, this is Prometheus's docking clamps. Oh, the Death Glider hangar. Like, how much space does that mothership... does the mothership have inside it if it can have a hangar of that sort of volume? Early versions of the Prometheus model, another look at the hangar. Death Glider being stored away, more Prometheus stuff. Alright, mothership. Aha! This is what I was looking for. So this is what the original hangar for Prometheus was going to look like. So this is from Avalon, so this is what they're going to sort of, as part of the flashback to the battle over Antarctica. So we see the launch bay, we see the hangar doors, we see sort of the flight deck out there. But up here you'll notice something really interesting on either side. F-302s stored away with their wings locked up. The exact opposite of what the Death Gliders do. As you saw earlier, the Death Gliders... Let's flick back to that one. There it is. Death Gliders stored with the wings down. So, how's that for a cool little piece of information? Whoa, that looks gnarly in texture shade of view, doesn't it? Wow, Atlantis, what have they done to you? Poor boy. Hello. Okay, it's just thinking. Yeah, that's why I hate texture shade of view. It always freaks out, especially when you've got a model like Atlantis in the scene. When VPR is faster, you know that you've done something wrong. Give it a second to catch up. Okay, and now it should flick to full screen and then back to quads. Okay, so it's half that way. Flick, full screen, flick. Alright, there we go. Back to looking at that. Okay. Looking at the Daedalus, attempt number 3. So I know what I was doing wrong, and I won't do it again. What I was trying to do is I was trying to restack the scene, just so that I could have the two Daedalus models next to each other on the list, make things easier to sort of pop things in and out of view. Let's switch you back to wireframe real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin this around so that go through all the different things I can. Split screen, full screen. Okay, there we go. VPR. I should have set the scene up before I did this. That's annoying. Okay. Oh! Nope, that's not what I'm after. Okay, let's grab that. Bring it this way. Okay, so both these Daedalus models are the same, effectively the same model. Think of one of them as a refit to the other one. And you're going to be fairly close to sort of the way that it works. Drop that down, lift it back up, pull it back a bit, move it across. Okay. Let's line that Daedalus up first. Grab this Daedalus and bring you back across. Okay. Now we go. God, my random things that I'm humming must be so out of sync with the music. It must be painful. For that, I am truly sorry. Okay. VPR. Okay. Camera. Drop it down to about 30 degrees. There we go. Alright, you actually see the puddle jumpers and stuff in front. Isn't that nice? Alright, so the two Daedalus models are very, very similar. Superficially, if you're looking at them side by side like this, the biggest difference you'll notice is it has the X304 model has a bridge in a different location, so its bridge is on the lower section here, whereas the bridge on this one is on the higher section. Hey! Andy, are you the Crow? Yeah, I'm just going to call you Andy, just because... Or the Crow. I'll call you the Crow. Hello, the Crow. If you have any questions or anything you want to know, feel free to shout out in the chat and I will... you can call me Crow. I will call you Crow. If you have any questions or anything you want to know specifically about a thing we're looking at, feel free to shout it out in the chat, and I will do my best to address it. Now, there is a little bit of a delay between you saying stuff in the chat and me potentially seeing it, or even it coming through, so it's one of those things you'll just have to sort of deal with, unfortunately. But glad you joined the stream. So anyway, we're now looking at the two Daedalus. Daedalus plural for Daedalus? I feel like Daedalus shouldn't be plural for Daedalus, but I also feel like it's right. Okay, let's just move that over, move it over, move it over, move it over. Alright, so back to what I was saying. Zafino dropped from the hyperspace at the command of the UNAF Imperator. Alrighty then. So first thing you'll notice is, if you look really closely, is the bridge on the X304 model. Now this version here, the one the mouse is going around, is the X304. It's the original version of the model. This over here is what I call the BC304. It is the model that we see for the vast majority of the series. The X304 model turns up really only in the first half of Season 2. These are all visual effects models. Every model that we are looking at here is one that was shown on the show. They are all the visual effects models. No, I cannot share them, unfortunately. Trust me, I wish I could. So anyway. So the X304 model, the bridge is in a different location. So this was made presumably before the set was made. The bridge window is down here, whereas the bridge window on the BC304 is actually here at the top of this, it's opposed to the bottom, and up on the back tower up here, which there is no window at all on this one. Which is why I make the case that this is the original location for the bridge. Now, the Odyssey used this as their bridge location. Daedalus and Apollo and Hammond all use this one. So you can sort of choose yourself, I guess. I like to call this one the auxiliary bridge. Just because that makes sense, since this is the one that everyone's using. I also call it the flight deck, depending on how you feel. Another difference is that you'll notice fairly obviously is the turrets. Now, all the turrets are actually in the same location. So if I flick the ship away, flick, you'll notice all the turrets are in the same location on both models. So you can see them there and scattered around. You can see them here and scattered around. Let's put the ship back together. Yep. Ship's back together. So. I'm so sorry. It should be going out at 180. Why isn't it doing that? Let's have a look. Let me have a quick look at the settings. Yeah, it should be. Either way, it's recording at 1080p, so. Yeah, getting these models was damn near impossible. I only got them because I work for Stargate now. And I've been doing tech stuff for them on the Facebook and online for a while now. Anyway, this will be uploaded in 1080p onto the YouTube channel for me, my YouTube channel, so youtube.com/SpiderBreaker. So you can view it there later in 1080p. So like, if I turn off... See, I've got all these little switches I can switch on and off. So if I turn off the main hull on that one, and I turn off the main hull on this one, you can see most of the greebles match. So these panels here are the same, all of this stuff's the same. If I turn off the next one, which is the big chunky greebles, you can see that a lot of the underside structure is the same on both of them. The decals on the wings are the same. Hangar doors are the same. Even sort of the bridge deck, which is its own sort of thing. Yeah, I don't have any bots set up, Zafino. So, and then if we get rid of that, we drop back down to just having the turrets visible, and then you've got the engines, which are kind of cool to look at from this angle. And then we can lose the engines, and we've just got the bay doors. which is kind of fun. There's the bay doors, and we've just got the turrets, and then we can just use the turrets and they're gone. So let's play Builder Daedalus, shall we? So if you've ever wondered what a naked Daedalus looks like, that's what a naked Daedalus looks like. Hey, thanks, why so serious? Yeah, so that's what. So this here is a Daedalus model without any of the greeblies. So you can sort of see the difference the greeblies make between sort of the default model and the actual finished version. So we'll add the hangar doors on because we need the hangar doors. Which one is the bridge? Okay, there's the bridge. So the bridge is part of the greebly pack. So a case could be made that because the bridge is technically a greeble, as you can see here, why is there a giant... Okay, let's pretend there's not a giant hole in the side of the ship. The Asgard beam weapons, I'll deal with that in a second. Let me just rebuild the Daedalus. Okay, so yeah, so that's them. Now the Asgard beam weapons are a funny thing, because what they did was they looked at the model and they went, okay, and then you just swap out a big view and back down to little view. Basically what they did with those is said, okay, here is some greebly doos on the outside of the ship. Let's just use those. So where they fired them from is, I need to zoom in on this. It'd be nice if that was locked. Spin it down. Flip that back to a 20s. Okay, so they fired from this node here. They did not fire from this node here. And this node here is exactly the same node. So they look exactly the same up close. But yeah, so and those nodes are both on. So if I pull over to here, you'll see exactly the same nodes on this model. And this model is the original, and it predates Asgard beam weapons by over a year, so... Yeah, basically they just said, yep, that spot, yep, that spot. So another... Oh, here's a fun little thing. Just while the camera's nice and close, so I don't have to do it later. The missile bays actually have 2 launch tubes per thing. So whenever you see someone count the number of missile tubes, there's actually 2 per thing, not 1. Anyway. Spin it around. Another spot that they fired from is, hilariously, if I drop you down, when he says fire the main... Whoops. Camera, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. Bollocks. Spin. There we go. So when he says fire the main battery in the season finale of Atlantis, the beam comes from this node here, which is a bolt. Do the models take into their inner distribution? The bridge set does fit inside. I'll show you the bridge window in a minute. So it fires from this bolt here when it fires the main battery. So if I spin it around so you look underneath, these 2 nodes here also fire beam weapons. Random note, where the Horizon missile launched from? Here's, see where these vents are here? Yeah, that's where the Horizon missile launches from. That's the bomb bay doors, quote unquote. So as you can see, shock horror gasp, the model has greebles there. It doesn't have doors. So you could try and make the case that those are the outer frames for the doors if you want, whatever. Yeah, the wikis are wrong. The wikis are very wrong. We're going to go through and do a canon size, quote unquote, versus actual model size at the end. And trust me, that's worth hanging around for, because it's going to be goddamn hilarious. So as you can see, look, there's more of those same greebles. So This greeble there is the same as this one at the front here. This one fired beam weapons, that one at the back didn't. So they literally just chose things and said, that'll do. It's like these here. These are the reversing thrusters. Something you never really see in the show. Now on the... cut through the model a little bit, just cheating. So see how the missiles have 2 missile tubes per bay? I'll zoom in nice and close. Get a nice good look at it. So it's got 2 missile tubes per bay. But it has 16 bays, if I remember correctly. Let me just... Whoa, that was not the one I wanted to change. Great work, me. This is the one I wanted to change. So if you look at the length of the bow, roll it up. You can see that, yeah, there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there is 16 bays, so to speak, but there is 2 tubes per bay. No, you can't see inside. There's nothing inside the ship. There's nothing inside the model. So if I just go down to here, flip it up, down a little bit lower, so I'm inside it. Whee! Boop! We're inside the Daedalus. Boop! So there's literally nothing in it. There's no sets or anything like that in here. Anytime you see the inside interacting with the outside, that's a set extension. But one thing we can do is, so see it a bit clearer here. The bridge window, there's one here and there's one on this rear flight deck. They both match exactly the width of the sets. And if I bring up, where did I save that to? Give me 2 seconds. Where did I save that to? I have to do it in Photoshop. Yeah. Someone take over for Jordan when I get to the measuring. So as you see, that's the. So here's the bridge set. It's got a scale on it, so it's 20 foot wide across the window. So you can measure the window, it's 20 foot wide. And as you can see, this is the set superimposed to scale with the outside of the model to the bridge, and there's a sort of a closer up version of it over here. So that's a slightly sort of zoomed out version. So that's the window, that's the set. So the bridge itself only really goes... to about here. Everything after about that line is beyond the back of the set. And the same thing applies for the flight deck one. If I go up here, go across. So same thing applies. The window, the set goes back to here, but it does fit. Now, if you ask me where the ladder's going on the bridge, regardless of which bridge window we're looking at, the answer is okay. Why so fallacious? Yeah, what about that size as before on the Alcash? Other stuff, okay. Then the wiki is totally... Yeah, the wiki gets its information from the Stargate DVD magazine, which is where I originally got mine. I've actually got the DVD magazines on a shelf behind me. They're really cool, but their technical side of things, yeah, monstrously wrong. And I'll demonstrate that at the end when we find... Where's Joe hiding? He's over here. Joe, come down to the bridge window for me, buddy. Oh, you're down in the middle of... This is not an easy thing to do. I'm trying to work out where Joe is relative to this thing. Okay, so you need to be higher by a lot. Oh, there he is. Hello, Joe. Which means you need to come across. so as you can see, Joe relative to the bridge window is about right. Like, it's like, if you know what I mean, like, you can sort of see. Grab my camera, bring the camera in. So Joe compared to the window is about right relative to the set. The Crow, I do not unfortunately have Destiny, no. I have a fan model for Destiny, but I do not have Destiny. The Destiny in concept art is about 700 meters long. So yeah, unfortunately I do not have the official Destiny model, I've only have a fan model. So that's our little fighter pilot Joe up against the window with the Daedalus. Let's zoom the camera back up and out. Now both these Daedalus models are literally the same size because they've both got the same frame. The only thing that's different is a few of the greebly doos. So if we measure one, we basically measure both. So let's grab my measuring stick. Measuring stick. Where are you? There you are. Okay, so go to the front of the bow of the. Can we see it? Yeah, I'll drop Destiny in a bit later. I didn't want to put official models into this stream. Sorry, unofficial fan models into this stream, just because it's official models only. In another stream later on, I can do it, or I'll do it at the end of this after we've done this and after we've had sort of the quote-unquote canon size scaling of all the different ships, so you can see how silly they look. Then I'll throw Destiny in and we can have a solid laugh. Okay, so the bow of the ship is at 6.4 meters. The stern of the ship is negative 732, so round it a little bit, round both ends a tiny little bit. That gives us 740 meters long for the Daedalus. So someone throw that in the chat for me. So the Daedalus is 740 meters long, and it is let's see, what are you? ...370 meters wide. So it's... is it? That's... That doesn't sound right. No, it's not, because I'm reading the wrong bloody number. I'll throw that in the chat myself, just so we gotta know. Alright, so that's a Daedalus, and just to show that the F302 is... Let's grab the F302, drop it back down to here. So yeah, so I always like to do these shots where I bring in sort of I can bring in the fighter and say, look, see, it fits in the hangar. Down. Come on, camera. So as you can see, the F302, although not perfectly lined up with the shot just yet, it's a little bit high, a little bit wide for the door. There we go. So that's the F302 showing that the F302 fits quite happily in this size, and even matches width-wise sort of the little greebly doos on either side of the door. Yeah, 740 for... Wow, did I put the wrong damn size? Great work, me. Okay, I'm just going to throw myself out an airlock for failing catastrophically. I'll be back in a moment. Sorry, it's a joke from the podcast I used to do. Whenever someone screwed up, they got thrown out the airlock. Let's grab the camera. Okay, now the same notes apply to this Aurora model as apply to the Prometheus model. This Aurora model is originally screen used. It was used, but it was the Aurora model from the episode Aurora. And the problem with that is that they never really finished that model, and it was in a serious need of TLC in order to get it up to scratch. Which is what it's at now. It's up to scratch now. It was actually rebuilt based on the Traveler's Aurora. So, we could see some cool things like the bridge. Now, the bridge is the same size on the original model as it is on this model. And on this model, it is scaled to the bridge to be the same size as the set. I just don't have the set plans handy. But as you can see, let me just zoom in. Focus in on the bridge a little bit more. Say hello to the bridge. Oop, wrong way. Right way. Wrong way. Up. There we go. Nailed it. First try. I throw myself out the airlock again. The rate I'm going. There we go. So that's the bridge there. You can see consoles and chairs and stuff. So, yeah, it's the Aurora. So, in the original episode Aurora, the ship was very heavily damaged. Like, the model was. And it was only finished on the sides used for the visual effects shots. None of the other sides had textures. None of the other sides were remotely close to sort of screen-worthy. So, a group of dedicated fans, the same group that rebuilt Prometheus, rebuilt the Aurora, so that it's in its current state here. So, again, I view this more as a guide than canon, if you know what I mean. Like, it's more accurate than the DVD magazine. That's for damn sure. But I wouldn't necessarily consider it top tier canon, if you... Capital C canon, if you know what I mean. Okay, so 53 meters plus... so it's 1.26 kilometers long, give or take. 1.27 kilometers long. On the Aurora. Gosh, it's such an odd shape. Okay, make sure I put the right numbers in this time. Measuring stick. Measuring stick. Okay, I'm not going to find the widest point. This box shows me the widest point, so I can just use that as a guide. So, negative 893. What does it do? So it's 410 meters wide. Okay, I got it right this time. And yeah, if you want a closer look at Aurora, again, it's I consider this build very accurate to based on what they had, but again, it's not necessarily canon with a capital C, if you know what I mean. They're the only two models which I consider canon, this one and Prometheus, that aren't necessarily canon, if that makes sense. Ooh, come on. Come on, camera. Do you work like I want you to work? Camera. It's freaking out. Oh, camera. What are you doing to me, buddy? Camera's being silly. Whatever. And now VPR isn't updating. God damn, I hate it when that happens. Oh. I know why. Because I'm playing with the light, not the damn camera. So you can see it's got some sort of secondary turrets here and along here. The drones tend to come out of this area here. Not always. It sort of, again, depends on who's doing the visual effects. Sometimes they come out of further back. You can see more turrets on the bottom side down here. And you can see a hangar bay here. And it's kind of very... The way this pod attaches, it's very reminiscent of the Battlestar Galactica. Just sort of a very Galactica-esque looking side pod. So the hangar on that side, and if you flip over to the other side, we've got the big guns and that ion booster that's there for whatever reason. And then the main engine's back here. And that, yeah, so that's the Aurora model. Now we move on to the big boy, Atlantis. I do not have a model of the Jammed Action. I genuinely wish I had a model of the more Asgard models. The only model of Asgard ships I have is the O'Neill, and the O'Neill class is a fan model, so it's not canon, and I've just scaled it based on the concept art from the middle of the series, when the O'Neill was first introduced, and it does change again depending shot to shot. But if I put it into the scene from the end of I want to say there's the one where they find the old school Asgard and they rescue Thor from Anubis, and they're in a Teltac, and then 3 O'Neill class appear above them and face off against Anubis and Osiris. And you see the Teltac underneath. If you look at the Teltac from the visual effects models that I've got here and you put it at that same spot relative to the O'Neill class scaled to the concept art size, they're about the right size. So, yeah. As for my favourite model, honestly, it's the Daedalus. I have other models that I like. Like, I do really enjoy the look of the Orville from the Orville series, but it also has so many different lines where you can't get a good render of the damn thing. The amount of time I've spent faffing about trying to line up the camera to get a good shot of the Orville is just, it's hilarious and sad. We won't go there. So anyway, so let's go take a look at Atlantis. So I'm going to lift the camera up considerably. Fix that. So it doesn't look like the camera guy's drunk. Okay, so Atlantis itself has some really hilarious things. Now it's about... let's do the measurement on it first, shall we? Measuring stick. Where are you, my measuring stick? There we are. Okay, so we'll grab the top end of this pier. So that's... call that 1 kilometer flat because that's a nice round number. And that's... yeah, so it's about... From that pier to that pier, it's about 4.3 kilometers across. So yeah, it's relatively round, so it's just sort of 4.2, 4.3 kilometers is the size of Atlantis, which is kind of cool. And if you look at it real quick, I will grab you, bring you over. The Daedalus, believe it or not, and you have to pay fairly close attention in the series to spot this. The Daedalus lands in the water of the pier. So if we park the Daedalus here, that's roughly where the Daedalus lands. Yeah, the Atlantis is relatively a circle, so I'm just going to go with 4.3 kilometers diameter. Because... diameter? Radius? I always get those wrong. It's diameter. So, and fun fact, if you had a Wraith Cruiser and you were trying to land it, it would also fit. An Aurora class. I've actually checked up the Aurora class. She's thin enough that I might be able to squeeze it in. There, maybe? God, that'd be a... You'd have to be a brave captain to try and land an Aurora class ship. Sort of wedge it in there. Ooh. Freaked out for a minute. Let me reselect the Aurora. You would have to be a hell of a brave captain to try and do that with your Aurora class. It's doable. Let me just bring Prometheus back in. Where is Prometheus? Prometheus, where are you? There you are. Nope, that's not you. That's what I'm after. Yeah, the Wraith Scout was the one that landed on the pier, correct. And if you look really closely, it's actually this model that scene was rendered with. And the section of the pier, if I remember correctly, it's this area here. Look really closely on your Blu-ray version and you will see it's missing all its textures. And yes, that's a thing, and yes, it's hilarious. Also a thing that's hilarious, Prometheus is the only ship small enough... ... It's just not a small ship, but the ship is small enough to, if I spin it around the right way, to park in the little waiting pool area. Grab the camera. Bring it up here, spin it around. So Prometheus fits. Yeah, I've done a few renders with multiple Auroras around Atlantis. Let's have a look. Output folder. I don't know if you guys have been following, but I've been doing a Battlestar Galactica render series recently, so it's sort of a series of sort of renders that sort of tell a story of this sort of conflict that... Oh yeah, I that took a lot of stuffing around to get right. Like, that's one of my favorite renders. But that's also not what I'm here to show you. We want... Where is it? Did I go too far? I think I might have gone too far. So subbing on stuff like this. You can see the city over the ocean. Oh yeah, just random things with plasma beam weapons is my favorite. So I paint around light rig. That is one of my favorite renders. I want to get that printed out because that just every time I look at it, it blows my mind. Where is? It's another really cool shot of Atlantis. Oh, there it is. So that's one of my renders of sort of the aurora over the city. What I'm trying to do... Maybe that's the one I'm after. Yeah, that's the one I'm after. So yeah, so back before I had the ocean sort of working properly, I did this one, which has got two auroras and some puddle jumpers flying around. It's actually funny, you can see in this shot here the balcony. Now the balcony was used, it's on the Atlantis model, I'll show you in a second. Let's go find out where are your balcony. Now the balcony itself is kind of hilarious because it was used as for like wider shots, like for set fill. So basically what you do is you would film a scene to a blue screen and you'd have the camera pull back to sort of show the characters. And then what you do is you'd have part of your model. Oh god, this is damn near impossible to control zoomed out that far. it's not going well. So you'd film it with your blue screen and then you'd have part of your model match up to the set. So that's the faux balcony. So if you've had actors, say, doing a scene outside, having a talk about whatever, when you pull back out and you zoom out, you would start there and pull out. Now the problem with that is, that balcony is about 4 or 5 meters high. Actually, I can measure it. Let's... Measuring stick, where are you? Come to me, measuring stick. Okay, we can see in... Okay, there's the balcony. So, the number we want is the green number, so it's currently 894 meters high. If I go to the top of the balcony, it's now 904 meters high. So that banister is like 10 meters? Yeah, give or take 10 meters tall. And to the top of that, it's another 15 meters. So this is what I mean when I say the scale is a bit hinky in a lot of shots, because they do tend to change it shot to shot to shot. But when I render out Atlantis at a 1:1 scale, that's the size it renders at. So now that we've done official stuff, let's bring in... Where are you? Destiny? Okay. Now, for the record, this is... actually, no, that's the wrong one. I've got to make sure I bring in the right one, because the fan model isn't scaled properly. I've got to make sure I grab it for the right smegging scene. I've got to find the scene first. There it is. Now I've got to find it in the scene. Where are you, Destiny? I know you're here somewhere. There we go. Oh, that doesn't help. And it makes it very, very angry. 15. Okay. Well, now what I can do is I can just bring in the Destiny model. Now that I know the scale for it. Yeah, no, Jordan, if you're looking for a technobabble reason as to why the banister's 10 meters tall, I blame the furlings. The furlings were really tall. Okay, so Destiny should appear over here in a moment. Okay, good. It seems to have come pre-scaled. So what did you want to see Destiny relative to? Because it's currently inside the Daedalus. A Daedalus, I should say. So I should probably fix that. Wee, down. Down we go. Down, down, down. What direction is my camera pointing? Oh. Maybe why I can't see anything? So again, I want to be clear. This Destiny model is a fan model. It is scaled to concept art sizes. So it may not represent the actual size of the VFX model, because I do not have that. And I have noticed that concept art and VFX models don't always match. So I want to be sort of stupidly clear about that. So yeah, so that's Destiny next to the Daedalus. I've done a few renders like that. But I tend to do the Hammond just because that's more thematic for that series. So yeah, so... Yeah, no, this is a really, really good fan-made model. That's why I use it. Even Baron Destructo loves it. I've shown him, so... Anyway. Let's get rid of Destiny real quick. Just because I want to drop down the number of things that are in here. And let's crack open everyone's favourite place. Stargate Wiki. Okay, so I'll let you guys decide. The size for Destiny is a bit longer than Daedalus. I think it's 800 meters off the top of my head. I'll see if I can find the concept art again. I've got so much concept art. Finding that specific one may not be a thing that I can do. Okay, I'm just going to get myself a little bit more RAM. Okay, so I'll leave it up to you guys. Which ship do you want me to make cannon-sized first? It can be any of the ships that I have the models for. So it could be Prometheus. It can be Daedalus. Daedalus looks absolutely adorable. Looks like a little chubby baby. Alcash, Death Glider, you name it. Just the F302. Believe it or not, the F302 is actually the right size. It's the only one I have that they got the model size right. And there's a hilarious story for that, because the F302 size on the wiki does not come from the DVD magazine. The F302 size on the wiki comes from an official poster, which is renders of the visual effects model and measured based on the visual effects model. So yeah, the more you know. Grab the cruiser. I'm just bringing everything back over to this area. So yeah, of all the things to choose, you chose the one thing that is technically right. Congratulations. The glider? Okay. Let's bring the wiki over. Just make that go away temporarily. Okay, Death Glider. Let's see, what specs do we have? Oh, of course it would be feet. Meters would be too easy. Too lazy to math this. Metres. Great work, me. Okay, so call it 28 feet long, 8.5 meters. Camera. Oh, camera. Let's zoom in on the guys down here, shall we? Oh, too far. Back up. Also, really, really bad angle. There is the Death Glider. Okay, so we measured this model earlier. Ooh, stay still, would you? Okay, so we measured the Death Glider model before, and it was. Let me scroll up and find out. Did we not measure it, or did we not? Oh, Jordan, you didn't put it in the chat. Boo, boo! I blame you for not keeping track. Anyway, where's my measuring stick going? Okay, measuring stick, just come back over here, buddy. Okay, so the Death Glider here is Death Glider. We want to clone a hierarchy because that will then give us a second Death Glider to play with. So there we go. Sometimes it takes like a minute. Okay, so measuring stick. So the current Death Glider is -42. So the current Death Glider is 8.3 meters, which is actually within tolerance for that. So we want it to be only a squidge smaller. So we want it to be a squidge smaller. So let's grab a scene editor. Come on, don't be that guy. Okay, length. We want to scale the length. Blue. So we just want to squish just a squidge. That's a bit more than a squidge. Okay, so that should get us fairly close to 8.5 meters. Let's find out. No, bad. Go down here. Okay. So that is. So we want it to be a little bit over around about 16. Yep, that works. Okay, so that's the new length of the Death Glider. The height of the Death Glider. So the width, yeah, the width is 46 feet. So, which is 14 meters. Let's grab my handy dandy measuring stick. Okay, so we go from. So we want that's -13 to -27. Oh, look at that! We're actually fairly close to the right size. And the height is. Oh, that'll be why. I'm trying to work out why it's right. It's scaled based on the Death Glider Collector's toy, which is why it's close, but it's not quite. It's off by a tiny little bit, which, given that what they're doing is they're measuring this model and scaling it up, being off by a little bit makes sense. So anyway, Death Glider, we can confirm in the wiki, is correct. So bye-bye second Death Glider. Later. So yeah, so if you want to make a note, Death Glider in the wiki, F3 in the wiki, both are correct. So you're 2 for 2 guessing ones that are right. All of the other ones are wrong. How did you guess the 2 that were right? Oh, bloody hell. Anyway, let's just do the Wraith Dart, just because it's the next. It's chilling there. It's next. Let's have a look. Now, most of these don't have a height. I don't think. I think they've just got a length. Wraith Dart. Okay. Well, the Wraith Dart doesn't even have a size. Isn't that nice? Okay, so the Wraith Dart is presumptively wrong just because it doesn't have a size. Haha. Puddle Jumper. Okay, the Puddle Jumper 8 meters by 4 meters. That's actually fairly close, so maybe the DVD magazine got that one right. Let's just double check its math. Where's my measuring stick? Measuring stick, where are you? There you are. Okay, so now again, this will depend on which model. So we'll go for the hero model just because. So we're at -44. It's 4.4. So it's let's grab. Which one is the Puddle Jumper I'm looking at? That is Atlantis. Keep doing that. Okay, so let's clone hierarchy. Wait for it to do its thing. There we go. Drop that back there. Okay. Measuring stick. So the wiki says it's 8 meters by 4.7 meters. So if we measure the front, 7.7. We want the back to be, so it's a little bit too big. Let's squish it down. We'll make it 0.95. Okay, measuring stick. So we want it to be 8 meters long. So we want the front to be around 8.3. Yeah, that's pretty spot on. Gonna make it 9.4. That'll, yep, cool. And it's 4.7 meters wide according to this measuring stick. Where are you? There you are. Okay. Now, 4.7 meters is obviously the closed width, not the open width. Because if it's the open width, it would get stuck in the gate. Yeah, the dart model's 10 meters long. So we'll scale one up to match that, because I know that concept art. I've got that concept art. Somewhere. Somewhere. So much concept art, so little place to put it. So -3, so that's just about 7 wide there, but we'll give them a bit of lenience and we'll measure it from the inner side, so that's -1.6. So it needs to be tiny little bit wider. So let's add. Okay, I don't know what direction that changed. Oh, that changed up. I was going to say, what the hell? Okay, so this is approximately the Wikipedia size. Now, I measured it based off that being 4.7 meters, not these being 4.7 meters wide, because if they were 4.7 meters wide, it could fly straight through the Stargate pods open, and we know it can't do that thanks to the literal second episode these things were in. Specifically 38 minutes, the one we just watched with David Hewlett. So, let's grab the camera. Camera boy, go this way, go down. And to be honest, you don't really notice much difference between the front one and the back one. The back one's definitely more ovally-ish, I guess. Where did I get all my stuff, Fallacious? I work for Stargate now. I'm contracted by a third party to do basically artwork for them to help them promote pushing for a new series, and I got it through them. Where they got it from is something that neither of us can talk about, so there's no point even asking them. So anyway, back to doing the puddle jumper comparison. Let's grab the normal puddle jumper. Where are you, normal puddle jumper? There you are. Bring you across. Bring you back. So even side by side, you don't notice much of a difference with the eyeball. So believe it or not, the wiki has that one. Whoa, camera! Don't be that guy, camera. The wiki's got that one fairly close. It's still kind of hilarious to see a chubby little puddle jumper, but you know, chubby puddle jumper be chubby. And chubby puddle jumper be... Go on, bye, chubby puddle... now, I think I'll leave the chubby puddle jumper. And what I'll do is I'll rename that as... Cannon-sized chub jumper. Just because it kind of looks hilarious and it's growing on me a little bit. Okay, so... I'm not going to do the other puddle jumper to that size because that would be a whole thing. And so instead, I'm just going to go boop and just drag it back here, out of the way. Park it behind the other cannon-sized jumper. Okay. Next on the list, I guess, is we've done the Death Glider, I've done the F-302. Ooh, cargo ship. Let's have a look at the cargo ship size. If I remember correctly, this is one of those ones that is just absolutely hilariously wrong. So, 15 meters by 10 meters by 6.5. What's that from? That is from the DVD collection. Okay, let's have a look at how wrong that is. Let's if I click the right window. Okay, cargo ship. Let's see. Look, if you've got questions, feel free to shout them out. I'm past sort of the important information. I'm onto the shits and giggles. I'm more than happily answer questions if you got them. So we didn't record the Teltec size either. Okay. Measuring stick, where'd you go? Over here. Come over here, buddy. Keep coming. Come on, measuring stick. Nope, too far. Too far. Back, back, back. Back some more. Okay, there's the Teltec. Okay, so back of that's -10. Actually, okay, so here's the cargo ship. We want to clone hierarchy. Yeah, it's the cargo ship is 14 meters ish. Come on. There we go. Okay, so let's put them next to each other. Let's grab me my camera, pan across, pull back a little bit, lift up a little bit, rotate down a lot. Okay. Okay, so let's believe it or not, lengthwise, I have to make it a little bit. Oops, that's not the right one. I have to make the cannon size one longer, which already looks hilarious. 10 meters wide. Measuring stick, where are you? Okay, let's see, how wide is this one? Okay. -61. -71. It's actually right. Huh. And 6 meters tall, which I'll get away with doing real quick. Huh. Maybe they did measure this model for it. Like, it's still not right lengthwise, but it's fairly close to the other dimensions. Oh, chubby cargo ship, you passed the test. Honestly, the ones I'm really waiting for are the Daedalus class ones, because they're the hilarious ones, but I'm kind of leaving that until last. Just because I'm evil. So... Let's see. Our cache is definitely different between official and canon, so let's have a look. Our cache... Oh yeah. Very, very different. Okay, so... Measuring stick, where'd you go? Come over to these cache. Okay, so the cache we measured at the top here was 70 meters long. So in order to match the quote-unquote cannon size, first thing we need to do is make it half as long. Blah. So Okay. And now it needs to be... now it's unspecified. As to the height of this thing. Sorry, as to the width of this thing, so... But it says it's 15 meters tall, so... Go from -8 to... Yeah, so it's approximately... Okay, so that's approximately the cannon size, the little guy. Now, let's get our tiny pilot. Joe, come on over here, mate. Now, we've seen Tanith behind the wheel of this thing. We know how big he is relative to it. Let's grab the camera. Tiny Joe, where are you? Inside the ship. Okay, so that is the size of a person, and that is a window barely big enough for one person to see through. So, as you can tell, the Alkesh sizes are a tiny, teeny, weeny little bit, approximately half the size they should be. So... good work, Tiny Joe. Your mission here is done. Feel free to float around for a while, because the not canon Alkesh is... it's a thing. Just gonna shuffle it over next to the puddle jumper. Still quite large compared to the puddle jumper, though. Okay, screw it. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, chunky Alkesh. I'm gonna get rid of the chunky jumper as well. Okay, so as we saw, Alkesh slightly tiny little bit wrong. Just a squidge, teeny weeny, teensy bit wrong. Now we get to the one of the fun ones. Prometheus. Okay, 195 meters long, it reckons. Now, we know that this thing's actually closer to 500 meters long. Let's move you over here on your own. Clone the thing. Okay, so... first things first, I'm going to have to shrink this thing down to about 1/3 of its current size to get anywhere near the official cannon size. So let's start by doing that. Okay, so where's my measuring stick? There he is. Okay, so we want this to be 195 meters long. So that's the engine. The engine is at 42. So that's the bow. It's actually pretty close. I'm kind of surprised. So 113 plus 41 takes us to 170-ish, give or take. So let's dial the scale up to 0.4, should get us probably too far the other way, but find out. Okay, so -78, that means the front has to be around the 120 mark, 110, 120 mark. Okay, yeah, she's a little bit long now. I'll go with 0.37. Nope, that made it angry. Okay, that's looking pretty damn on point. Okay, so the bow is at 124. Stern's at 167. Yep, good enough. So that makes us about a 200 meter long Prometheus. Now, that's just that. We do have other dimensions which are fun. So the other dimensions are width of 80 meters. Actually, what I should have done already, and I didn't. Bring the camera over. Why didn't you guys tell me to bring the camera over? Okay, so little Bubba Prometheus. Little baby Prometheus. F in the chat for cute little Prometheus, just saying. Anyway, I amuse me way too much. Okay, so now we've got to do width. So how wide is that little baby Prometheus, approximately? So that's 520, 420. So it needs to be a bit thinner. Okay, so you need to lose a little bit more in your width. Which one's your width? Red. Okay. Measuring stick. Okay, so it is 430, so it's around 510. Yep, okay, so that's right at 80 meters. Okay, and the height is meant to be 65 meters. Now, this is the one that I always find hilarious, because this is the one that always makes things look absolutely silly. Okay, so top of Prometheus is at 91. We want the bottom of Prometheus to be, let's flip to the right. We want the bottom of Prometheus to be what? So 65. So sort of between around the 20-30 mark. Yeah, it's good enough. I'll take it. So here we have the visual effects model and the quote-unquote cannon size. And thanks for all the Fs for the little baby Prometheus. So as you can see, Chibi Prometheus is just, it's a bit of a horrible looking little thing, isn't it? Like, it just, so people wonder why some of them have such long necks on them, like some of the fan models, and this is why, because the proportions on that are just ridiculously wrong. And just to prove that, I'm going to do what I did when I did the Daedalus one. I will do with the Daedalus one later. I'm going to come down to the hangers, like I did before, with the quote-unquote mummy Prometheus. Sorry, just, whoa, camera, where are you going? Camera. Thank you. Coming back, stupid thing. Okay, F302 is that one. As you can see, there is a snowflake's chance of that fitting anywhere. That won't even fit realistically. Nope, it won't. It won't fit in the neck. Like, at all. Pokes out the sides. So that Prometheus measurement, while I honestly like the smaller Prometheus measurement, it makes sense that our first ship is relatively small, sort of sub-aircraft carrier in size. But logistically, it's impossible. If you know, like from a visual effects perspective, it is logistically impossible. So I'm going to keep Chibi Prometheus around because I want to put Chibi Prometheus up against Chibi Daedalus when we get that far. Okay, so next up, let's do the Wraith Cruiser since it's Oh, I forgot how wrong this one was. Oh boy, wow. Okay. Ooh. Do we have the measurements for the cruiser written down here somewhere? Oh, there they are. So the Wraith Cruiser is 620 meters long. the model-wise. Let's grab the Wraith Cruiser. Bring it over. Oh, no, I'll leave it over here. Let's put the camera. Just take the camera to it. This is going to be easier that way. Okay. Now, Spino, why are you leaving such a gaping void next to your Wraith Cruiser? I hear you asking. That is because the cannon size for the Wraith Cruiser is absolutely hilarious. So the cannon size for the Wraith Cruiser is 2.5 kilometers long and 1.5 kilometers wide, which is just a random numbers. 629097232. Hello, I guess? Question mark. Anyway, let's scale this bad boy up, because to get from if we do what? I'd have to do 4 times. Okay, so say hello to Gigantamax Wraith Cruiser. Just silly. So goddamn silly. And to put it in perspective, here is the Canon Daedalus. Sorry, not the Canon Daedalus, the visual effects Daedalus compared to that. So yeah, that's a thing. That is an incredibly silly thing. Put the Daedalus back over there. So just I'm not even gonna measure it. Like it's close. It's 620 meters times 4 gets it to just under 2.5 kilometers long, which is what the show says. 420 wide times 4 is a bit over 1.5 kilometers. So it's, if anything, she's too wide. It needs to be narrower. Okay. Which one is the narrow one? That one. Okay, that should be about 3.5. So that is the cannon size for the Wraith Cruiser, which is silly, to say the least. Now let's do the Daedalus. The Daedalus is my favourite. It really is. Let's clone the hierarchy on that. And then what I'll do is I'll clear this scene. I'll do Atlantis separately. So Daedalus. Doesn't really matter where you go. Go there. Camera come over here. Okay. So okay, so put Daddy Daedalus in the background, we'll put Baby Daedalus in the front. Okay. Daedalus class. Okay. Now I'm going to go with the bigger estimates just because it's a bit faster to get to them. Actually, that's a good question. If we've done this before, what scale size did I use then? That would be a good thing because I can actually check that really quickly. One of these. Yep. That's satisfactory. Also satisfactory. Fine, I'll do it there. Render stream is after that. Actually, that might be it. Oh no, this is just me doing more scenes. Arc. Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to do this another way. Really quickly. Sorry about this. I I will get the right scale for the Daedalus in a moment. It's just going to take me a hot minute. I've got to jump across to my previous video that I did because it'll be a lot faster just to... Okay, let's... Okay, so that's already got the shot. Okay, so that is what I like to call the chubby Daedalus. Sorry for the delay, just had to do something really, really quickly. I have the music playing, so sort of listen to that, I guess. So the cannon size for the Daedalus is sort of 200-ish, 90-ish, 70-ish, which is right there. That's the cannon size for Daedalus. Now, if I park... where is Chubby Prometheus? Okay, sorry, Skinny Prometheus. If I park Skinny Prometheus next to it, they kind of look pretty nice next to each other, relatively speaking. Like Prometheus is skinny, Daedalus is stupidly fat. You can't really see how fat Daedalus is until I... whoa, that makes it angry. Just put that to there. Okay, so here we have the cannon-sized Prometheus model and the cannon-sized scaled, I should say, scaled to the quote-unquote cannon size Daedalus model. And as you can see, they look silly as shit. And if I grab the F302 model, which is somewhere on my list, there it is, and I bring it over here, plonk it in between them, you can see there is zero chance of this thing fitting inside either of them. So, well, I do personally like the 200 meter length. Oh, sorry, I've been sitting still for a little bit. Well, I do personally like the 200 meter length. I don't really like that nothing fits inside it and it makes no goddamn sense. Like, it's just the whole thing. So, yeah. That is the quote-unquote oh, I forgot. Shits and giggles, where is it? Go cannon-sized Wraith Cruiser! Where are you? Dun 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 dun. This freaking cruiser is just so stupid. Okay, so that's the cannon-sized Wraith Cruiser compared to the cannon-sized Prometheus and Daedalus. And as you can see, that's not remotely close to right. You can see it with your own eyes. That isn't remotely close to... Like, even if that was the size of the Wraith Cruiser, it still doesn't pair up to the size of the actual Daedalus, which is this one here. Like it's everything about that is wrong and hilarious to me, and I know you guys are finding it funny. So if you find that as funny as I do, F in the chat like always. Just god damn, just how and there's all the F's. Oh boy. So yeah, so anyway, let me clear everything out of the scene except for Atlantis, because I want to see if I accidentally closed that. You want okay, Stargate Wiki, let's see. Atlantis has a height of 800 plus meters. Which comes from one of the books. Well, there's no point in doing the Stargate, the Atlantis then. No, they never mentioned the size of things. This is all of these numbers are coming out of that damn DVD magazine. Some of them are hilariously accurate, which is bizarre to me. Like, they got the cargo ship right, but they couldn't get Daedalus right. Like, that's just bonkers to me. And as you can see, the Wraith Cruiser is just silly. So, anyway, that ends this video. I'm going to stay on the stream, so if you have any questions, feel free to shout them out. If you're watching this on YouTube or on Reddit or wherever the hell else I share this thing. Oh, I forgot about the Aurora. I'm going to blame Jordan for me forgetting about the Aurora. How big is the cannon size Aurora ship? Just out of curiosity. 3.5 kilometers. Okay, so this I've got to see. Okay, so the actual Aurora we said was what did we say the Aurora was? I think I recorded that one, yeah. 1.27, so it's about 2.5 times the size of what it's currently scaled at. So what's it? 1.7 up 1.7 to get. Yeah. 1.27. To double that, you get 2.4. To get it to 3 and a bit, you need to effectively triple it. Screw it, I'll just triple it. So that is the cannon size for the Aurora. At 3 and a bit kilometers long. It's probably a bit big. 2.5. Even still. So that's the cannon size for the Aurora. Next to the cannon size for the Wraith Cruiser. Next to the quote-unquote cannon sizes for those two ships. And as you can see, that is absolutely goddamn hysterical. Yeah, no, yeah. I know, right? I've officially just broken your entire faith in all things. So, if the Aurora was this big, and if the Daedalus was this big, I just realized something that's so much funnier than you'd think. Do you remember how it had that Battlestar Galactica hangar? Guess where I'm going with this. Where is it? There it is. Oh, Daedalus. I'm gonna try and dock you with the Aurora. Because that is 10 parts silly, and I'd like 10 parts silly. Okay, so there is the hangar on the Aurora, right? Make sure I line the Daedalus up. And whoop, I'm underneath. That is awkward. It can fit. It's a tight squeeze, but it could fit. Oh, that is hilarious. Okay, so if these are the cannon sizes, Daedalus could park in the hangar bay. Just let that sink in. You might lose some of your antennas. But yeah, like that to me is... Oh boy, that's a thing. That is indeed a thing, and everything about that thing is hilarious. Oh, bloody hell. Anyway, let's just view, fit all. That'll zoom it out. Okay, so here we have the monstrosities that are the quote-unquote cannon size of those ships. Here we have Atlantis, so yeah, it's... Yeah, I know, right? Just, you drop one Aurora class out of FTL, and then all of a sudden it spews out Asgard beam weapon flying Daedalus class, which then spew out F-302s. It's like a whole Russian nesting egg of ships. Which I guess is what the Infinity is in Halo. It drops out of slip space, opens its bay doors, which launches frigates. So, you know, sci-fi has done weirder stuff. But yeah, that's my favourite thing now. Like that, just everything about the Daedalus fitting into the hangar, everything about that is my favourite thing. I am so glad that I did that. Just... Oh, bloody hell. Anyway, let me just save the scene. Why not? Okay. You said you... let me just finish... Okay, I'm going to stop the recording now. So, those watching on YouTube, this is the end. So, bye-bye!